All right, so we just have 10 minutes, so I'm gonna go very fast through the slides. The goal for me today is to give you a couple of insights. So when you have to choose the next platform or take decision about your hosting platform in general, you will have some keys and you will understand that, you know, sometimes just knowing about things help you making the best decision. And it doesn't have to come with trade-off, and it doesn't have to come with, you know, performance issues or whatever, right? So let's go through that. It's, you know, short and sweet, you'll see. Okay, if I can change slide, which I can't. No. Yeah, I can do with one slide. Yeah, okay, that's me. So quick introduction, I'm Gauthier. Oh, it works, good, thanks. I'm Gauthier, I'm working at Platform.sh. So at Platform.sh, we are doing mostly web hosting for, I mean, a lot of Drupal websites, but also a lot of PHP in general, Symfony, and other CMS and e-commerce platforms. We are all-in-one platform where you can actually develop and deploy your websites and have a great developer experience around that platform. So I'm not there to sell the tool, so let's jump into the content. So one of the first statements that I want to start with is the environmental impact of our industry is, I mean, significant, and you know, it's kind of obvious if you look at the numbers and you step back a little bit that we have to take action, right? The amount of CO2 is increasing, and the consequences are still quite unknown. So it's very kind of a dangerous experimentation that we are doing right now with our planet and civilization. So what we are trying to identify now is how can we slow down or at least make the best choices so we can, you know, get to a point where instead of additionally creating new emissions, we can try to slow down a little bit and take smarter choice in that direction. So today, just to give you an idea, so everything that is related to internet and communication in general are representing something like 4% of the total emissions that we are producing on the planet. It's somewhat comparable to what the airline industry is representing as well. So we are often talking about, you know, not taking the plane too often and stuff like that, but what we do also has an impact. And oh, maybe I can talk about AI a little bit, but AI is not driving us in the right direction there. AI farms are huge, vampire in terms of electricity consumption, and any electricity means some carbon impact. So I think it's the third year that we are doing a full audit of our company. And what we realized, first is if you want to improve something, you have to measure it. So you'll see that, you know, it's the first step that everyone should start doing in that room, is to start to understand, when I'm doing something, what are the consequences of doing that? And so everything we do definitely have an impact. What we also want to identify is where can we actually bring some improvement, right? And so if you look at the pictures, you will see that if you consider hosting only, so the cloud part of what we are doing, almost 50% of the footprint come from the compute part of things, right? And the other almost bigger item here is the storage. And so if you just look at those two things, it's, you know, more than 50%. Those are very highly influenced by, you know, the data centers. So how much data centers are actually efficient, and where the electricity come from, right? Is that, you know, electricity that is generated with coal, which is probably the worst thing you can do for the carbon intensity, or is that nuclear or solar or, you know, renewable energy in general. And so you'll see here that, if you look in a little bit, you can take very good decision. Yeah. So there's really three aspects in optimizing this. The bigger one, we think, is the geolocalization of your computing resources. And so you can make a huge improvement there, up to 15 times in terms of CO2 reductions. Then there's an obvious one that is optimization, which is kind of difficult to measure because, optimization should happen at the development step, not when you're already in production and facing issues. So it's difficult to measure, but we can also help on that front. And the third point for us is the density. So basically, how much you are using the resources you are provisioning. So the geolocation is very important because there's really crazy high differences when you look at the planet, right? And so you can see that map. There's an actual website that is called electricitymap.org, where you can go and see live data with import and export and where the electricity comes from and what is producing it. And basically, it's very interesting, right? And just because it's what is interesting for us, I did a zoom in on the region we are in. And so the good news is, if you're in Ottawa or Quebec, you probably have one of the best grid of the world in terms of how green it is. So you'll see that Quebec is a little bit more green because it's more renewable and yeah. But already, if you move a website from Toronto to Montreal or Quebec, your impact is going to be almost divided by 2, right? So you see the logic here. Obviously, if you host it in Iowa, you will see it's going to be like 20 times more impact because the carbon intensity is almost 20 times bigger than Quebec. So those numbers are average over the last 12 months. I think it's the average for the 12 months in 2022. Those keep changing, and I think that's why electricity map is interesting. Is you can see how states are investing in greener electricity or not, and so you can see already that some of them are doing good progress, but some of them are still burning fossil fuel. All right, so the second aspect is, as much as possible, when you are building an infrastructure, it's always better to consider increasing the density. And so at Platform, we are doing that by mixing up applications together. So, it's never happening that all applications are using all the resources at one time. So the idea is, how can you group those applications together and avoid having servers that are basically used at 3%, which is, the average we can see on most websites. The second thing is improving performance. Of course, it's, as I said, harder to measure, but having the right tools here makes a lot of sense. So in your development process, being able to, trace and identify the bottlenecks of the load times in your web pages, it's going to help you to get to that peak of traffic without having to upsize your infrastructure, or even run on daily basis on a smaller infrastructure. And that, again, if you divide the number of CPU by 2, you save similar amounts in carbon footprint. Second thing that is super easy to implement on the Drupal side is to use CDN. And so you have very good CDN modules with Drupal. We are partnering with Fastly for that because they are doing way more than just asset caching. You can cache, HTML pages and segments. So it's very good. what we do at Platform to make those operations very simple is we developed a tool that allow our customers to migrate from one region to another. So you can really, I think because of the history of internet, most websites now are hosted in Georgia or North Carolina, because it's where Amazon started to build their first data centers. So we also have a lot of websites there, and now we're offering to our customers to be able to migrate those websites very easily to greener regions. So it's what we're doing with one of our customers, and we were presenting that at DrupalCon with Nestle. That is one of our big customer, which has a huge fleet of Drupal websites. Because we're not only doing production environments, for us it was very important as well to implement what we call pause environments. So for development environments that we are also calling ephemeral staging or preview environments, we are pausing them when they are not used. So it sounds obvious, but I mean, if you work with web agencies, you know that every developer environments or staging is always on, right? While most of the time no one is using them. So it sounds like a small optimization, but at scale, it has a huge impact. Thank you. Obviously, if you have questions, please come. I'm there the whole day.